And we're live. Welcome to week 9. This is all about gratitude. It's about gratitude being the gateway to everything that you want to achieve in your life. It's kind of a big deal. Reminds me of The Lion and Anchorman, or whatever that Will Ferrell film is, where he goes, this is Ron Burgundy or something. I'm kind of a big deal. Gratitude more so than Ron Burgundy, actually. Gratitude really is the big deal. It really is the gateway, the thing that starts unlocking all the secrets. Now, I have this way of summing it up, which is saying gratitude is metaphysical oxygen. You might run out of maybe water, and you might run out of food, and they say food you can go about 3 weeks or so without actually eating, about 3 days without water, only about 3 minutes without oxygen, without air. And so the idea that the most important thing is oxygen, and so therefore you've got metaphysical oxygen is really quite interesting. So that's what gratitude is all about. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some questions. I'm inviting some people to come live onto the call and ask questions today, which will be nice. But before we do that, and anyone can join the call at any time, but before we do that, I'm just going to skip through the chapter. We don't have to mess around. I didn't have to think very hard about what to do with this chapter. It was just, okay, there is a chapter on gratitude, and I was thinking, should I put anything else with it? And no, really, even though gratitude permeates all of the whole approach to the science of getting rich, this entire chapter on gratitude is deep enough. This will keep you busy for the rest of your life, not just this week. Okay, so I'm going to crack on with the key focus points in this chapter. It's chapter 7, and I'm just going to say a few things that I think are really important to bring out, and then we're going to see if anyone has any questions. Right, okay. So basically, Wattles has said, look, there is a system. It's all about having the vision first and believing that there is, enough for everyone and that you deserve it and all that sort of stuff. And then you've got to relate yourself to the greater life for all, to the desire of the universe. Really, I mean, basically, he actually says it. You will see that in order to do so, it becomes necessary to relate yourself to the formless intelligence in a harmonious way. Right, okay. And he spent a whole chapter on the importance of securing this harmonious relationship with the universe. It's kind of a big deal. If you follow these instructions, it will be certain to bring you into perfect unity of mind with God. Yeah, I might be interested in reading this chapter, That's kind of a big deal. Okay, and the whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. First, you believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. And second, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire, and me everything I desire, and anything to anyone who desires it. And third, you relate yourself to it by a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. Okay. And this is really interesting. He says that many people who order their lives rightly in all other ways are kept in poverty by their lack of gratitude. Having received one gift from God, they cut the wires which connect them with Him by failing to make acknowledgement. And my favourite way of explaining this is you can think of this as you've got Christmas coming up, and you decide that you've got a couple of friends and you want to buy presents for them, and you go out and you spend the whole morning and you get a couple of presents. You get a CD for one and a pair of sneakers for another, and you really think that they would like these tremendously. And one of your friends who gets the CD says, "Oh, this is amazing, my favourite artist, absolutely love it." And the person you give the sneakers to goes, "Yeah, that's all right. I actually got a pair of sneakers already." The point is, on a personal level what it feels like to have gratitude for the work that you've done. Maybe, it's not too much of a stretch to realize that the universe is pretty much the same thing here. We've actually got someone on the call who's got their microphone on at the moment. I don't know whether if we could ask that to actually mute their mic, that would be great. I can do it from my end, if possible. Hang on a second. I'm going to do it from here. I've done it from here. This is right. Okay. This is so you don't have to worry about making any background noise for now, and then I'll bring it up when we actually ask questions later. So okay, so it's a big deal. Gratitude is very important. We experience it when we give presents to people and they're really grateful, and we are minded to then want to give more to people that are really grateful for the things that we've already given them. Okay, right. So, but Wattles is saying there's a bit more to it than that. Yeah, okay. It's easy to understand that the nearer we live to the source of wealth, the more wealth we shall receive, and that the soul is always that is always grateful lives in closer touch with God than the one that never looks to Him in thankful acknowledgement. I get that. I think that makes sense. Again, if you give gifts to people and they're really grateful, they align themselves with you. You feel more of a connection. If they're not grateful to you, you feel less of a connection. Well, it's probably going to be the same in the universe, because if we are all made of the same stuff, then we all have the same deep down fundamental capacities, that same intelligence, and therefore we operate out of the same principle. The more gratefully we fix our minds on the Supreme when good things come to us, the more good things we will receive, and the more rapidly they will come. So even if you're just being selfish, right? You know, even if all you wanted was more good things to come and then to come more rapidly, then it would make sense to be grateful. But you know, there's more to it than that. Okay, the things that you have already come to you along lines of obedience to certain laws. Gratitude will lead your mind out along the ways by which things come to you, and it'll keep you in close harmony with creative thought and power, and prevent you from falling into competitive thought. Okay, I think this is quite nice, because if you're not grateful for stuff, it's kind of meaning that you think there's something wrong. There's something different that you should have had, or some different experience of life that you should be experiencing. So if you're thinking that something's wrong, then it's a demonstration of a lack of faith. And it's like, so, well, you know what, God, I know you've got plans. I know the universe has got plans. They're great, but you know, it's not working out so well for me at the moment. You know, I don't feel like I've got the car or the house or the relationship or whatever. I kind of really wish that, you know, things were different. Well, you know, if you're not grateful for everything that you've got right now, what makes you think you will be grateful when you get a bit more of what you want? You know, there are some people right now who would, you know, chew their right arm off to be listening on this call now, to be watching this video, to be able to be in this program, to be alive. You know, these are people that aren't in hospice at age sort of 25. You know, these are people that just have perhaps a life that is really hugely challenging and would swap for your life. It's a question of reframing. It's a question of perspective. Now, the last thing you want to do is allow your script to then make you feel bad for not feeling grateful, because you would never choose. You know, you choose if you're not being grateful and you notice you're not being grateful, you never choose to feel bad about not being grateful. The script will get you on that one. But, okay, from last week's chapter, it's your job to use your willpower to direct your attention to what you know is right. So when you notice, it's okay that you're not feeling grateful, but when you notice that you're not being grateful, then stop and be grateful. You know, use your willpower. It's fine. It's not massive amounts of willpower, but it's something, minimum will. Okay, so, and he talks a little bit, he gets into like the law of action and reaction here. The grateful outreaching of your mind in thankful praise to the Supreme is a liberation or expenditure of force. If a thought is energy, therefore a movement of energy is an action. It cannot fail to reach that to which it addressed, and the reaction is an instantaneous movement towards you. So it's like the laws of Newton's laws of action and reaction. Yeah, okay. Draw nigh unto God, and He will draw nigh unto you. This is a statement of psychological truth. Okay, so let's skip on a little bit. There's a couple of reasons why it's bad not to be grateful. Because without gratitude, you cannot long keep from dissatisfied thought regarding things as they are. And the moment you permit your mind to dwell with dissatisfaction upon things as they are, you begin to lose ground. You fix attention upon the common, the ordinary, the poor, the squalid, and the mean, and your mind takes the form of these things. You will basically create whatever you put your energy towards. So you will transmit these forms or mental images to the formless, and the common, the poor, the squalid, and the mean will come to you. To permit your mind to dwell upon the inferior is to become inferior. On the other hand, to fix your attention on the best is to surround yourself with the best and to become the best. So the creative power within us, this capacity that we've got that unifies all of us and links us to the universal intelligence, this is the creative power that we have. It makes us into the image of that to which we give our attention. Let's say that again. The creative power within us makes us into the image of that to which we give our attention. So if we are going to be complaining a little bit, or feeling a little bit miserable, or a little bit woe, or thinking we're sick, or feeling like we've got low energy, or feeling like we've been hard done by, or feeling that things aren't coming fast enough, guess what? The creative power within us is going to make us into that image. The thing that we give our attention to, we will become. You know, it's the sausage machine, isn't it? It's exactly what it is. What are you putting in? What are you putting in? Stop. What are you putting in? That's what your life is right now. What your life is right now is the result of what you've been putting in the sausage machine. You have already used your creative power to create what you've got. Now that can either make you feel, oh shit, bummer, I brought this upon myself, or can feel amazing because it's, if you've done it once, you know how to do it. You can do it again, right? So it's like, again, what would you choose? You'd choose, oh shit, this is terrible. I can't believe it. What was I doing? And then you've got, hey, this is awesome. I've actually got the power. I've proved it. I did it for stuff that I didn't want. I thought about the stuff I didn't want. I used worry. I used fear. I used uncertainty. I used them, and guess what I've got? I've got the life that I've got now. Good in part, but not so good in other parts. The dissatisfaction that I've got. So that's the real power. It's what your life is right now is an illustration of your own creative power. So the grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best, and it therefore becomes the best. It tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. And there's loads more. You know, it's not just that gratitude for itself is important, but gratitude leads to faith. And this is what Wattles goes on to say. The grateful mind continually expects good things, and expectation becomes faith. The reaction of gratitude upon one's own mind produces faith. When you're really grateful for things, it's like you're subscribing to the point of view that everything's happening for a greater purpose that you just haven't detected, and that therefore leads you to faith that everything's going to be okay, that there is a reason for these things that are happening. Okay, so the reaction of every outgoing wave of grateful thanksgiving increases your faith. Now, he who has no feeling of gratitude cannot long retain a living faith. Without a living faith, you can't do any of this stuff. You know, this shit is not going to work for you if you don't have a living faith. If you don't actually believe that it's going to work for you, right? I don't wish it was different, but you know, it isn't different. Some people, oh, you know, it'd be nice if it was, you know, it would be convenient if it would work without having to have faith and all that sort of stuff. And this isn't faith in a particular God. This is faith in principle. This is faith in the laws of physics that have created the world as it is, that have created animals and plants, orchids and oak trees and buildings and aeroplanes and all this sort of stuff. This is faith in pure principle. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Okay, so I'm going to be grateful for the things that I'm doing okay in, and for feeling good, and for my wife and all those kind. But you know, I'm a bit pissed off that I didn't see my kids from my first marriage, so I shouldn't be grateful for that, right? I should be grateful for the good things and just don't focus on the bad things. No. This is where he challenges you, and he says, certainly when I read this first of all a few years ago, I was thinking, really? I've got to be grateful for all the things that I don't want as well. Okay. Because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. Do not waste time thinking or talking about the shortcomings or wrong actions of plutocrats or trust magnates. Their organization of the world has made your opportunity. All you get really comes to you because of them. Do not rage against corrupt politicians. If it were not for politicians, we should fall into anarchy, and your opportunity would be greatly lessened. This is really interesting. So all these things that we rail against, banks and politicians and maybe people that are mean to us and people that are mean in general and people that don't love and people that are trying to crush other people, barbarians, all these competitive playing people. You know what? God has worked a long time and very patiently to bring us up to where we are in industry and government, and he's going right on with his work. There is not the least doubt that he will do away with plutocrats, trust magnates, captains of industry, and politicians as soon as they can be spared. But in the meantime, behold that they are all very good. Remember that they are all helping to arrange the lines of transmission along which your riches will come to you, and be grateful to them all. This will bring you into harmonious relations with the good in everything, and the good in everything will move towards you. So that's pretty interesting. You know, it's sort of saying you can't just be grateful for the stuff you like and just think, you know, the stuff that I don't like, about, you know, I'm not going to be grateful for. You've got to be grateful for the totality of everything, because you can't be, you can't just sort of, you know, it's not a buffet, it's an infinite buffet of everything, but it's like the principles of physics aren't a buffet. You can say, well, I believe in gravity, but I'm not interested in electromagnetic radiation. You know, this is what it is, and it has been set up like this for, this is being the best way, given the way the universe has been allowed to develop out of pure principle to right now. It's what we needed. 10,000 years ago it was a lot worse. 100 years ago, we were just about, in Europe, we were just about to embark on the Great War. You know, millions of soldiers and millions of non-soldiers were killed in this period. Something like 12 million soldiers were killed. And it's just ridiculous. 12 million people. That's a lot of people were killed in a war. I mean, you can look up all the facts. There's many more in total, but I think that's kind of the number of soldiers. 100 years later, we're not going to do that. You might say, well, it's a terrible world. You know, the chance of 12 million young men, mostly, giving up their lives for a greater good cause it's not going to happen. We've moved on. The world has moved on. Now, what is really important is to realize that by focusing on the challenges and the problems and all that sort of stuff, and the meanness of politicians and the meanness of people and the unfairness of my current situation with my ex-wife and not being able to see the children, all that sort of stuff, I'm giving energy to that. I'm giving force in that direction. So by being grateful, now, very careful on this, I'm really grateful that everything has happened to me. Absolutely grateful. Absolutely grateful for, you know, I'm saying I didn't want those things to happen, but I see it as part of the whole beautiful thing that life is, that I'm part of. And I'm grateful for the awareness that I can be grateful about that sort of stuff. I'm grateful for the fact that actually things could have been worse. I might not have been born. My children might not have ever been born. You know, I might not have even entered into that first relationship. I might never have created those children. So I'm grateful for the totality of everything. And this is what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for the journey, not that I've been on, but the journey that I'm on now and that I'm going on. I'm grateful for the difficulties I'm going to encounter in the future as well. I'm grateful for the joy that I'll bring to people's lives along the journey and in the future when I have the things that I'm bringing towards me that I really want. Now, I don't really look and think about really any goals or any specific things to achieve and think, oh, you know, it's going to be great when I get all those things. There are lots of things I don't want to be the way they are in my life, and there's lots of things that I would like, you know, I would like to travel even more than I do. I'd like to take my children with me even more than I do around the world and learn and live in Thailand for 6 months and then go to Burma, Myanmar, and then go to China and then go to Japan and Hawaii. I'd like to do all that sort of stuff, you know. Am I there yet? I probably could do that actually right now, but you know, in my plan by 2016, that's kind of where I want to be going. Now, am I going to wait to be grateful for that sort of stuff until I actually have achieved it? No, I'm going to be grateful now. Why? Because it makes me feel good. It, you know, Watchell says the man who is truly grateful for stuff that hasn't even happened yet is really exhibiting faith, demonstrating real faith. Now, whether or not it's true, I find that helpful. Again, the central algorithm of all my stuff, and certainly the central algorithm of this program, is helpful is more important than true. So whether something is helpful or not is more valuable to you, to us, to all of us. And the idea that gratitude is going to be the gateway that unlocks everything, I find it really helpful. Whenever I'm fussing about anything, whenever I'm not really in the zone, really putting the awesome stuff in the sausage machine, the way I get there instantly is gratitude. The way I get there for my wife, for my children, for my ex, for my old children, for living in Hong Kong, for having the job that I've got, for having written the books, for my mum, for my dad. My dad died at 70. I'd much rather he lived longer. I'd much rather he was alive now. He'd have loved this stuff. He'd have absolutely loved, you know, wherever he is in different form, the way he's been reorganized. You know what? He lives on in my thoughts, and I now know how much he would have enjoyed the fact that I'm communicating with all these people all over the world and changing lives. He'd have absolutely loved that. But, you know, I'm grateful for the time I had with him. I'm grateful for everything. Now, one last thing, problem with gratitude. In fact, I had a conversation with my dad who said that he found it really difficult to be grateful when there were so many people who were suffering, so many people that didn't have it as good as he did. Then how could he, in being grateful for what he'd been delivered, his lot in life, he was at the same time being grateful for not having been delivered the lot of other people who were worse off than him. That is very subtle, but that's actually from the script. It's totally from the script. Because what you're doing is you're feeling guilty about the setup that you've got, rather than, if you were choosing, you would choose to see it as the talents, the parable of the talents. You would choose to see it as you having been given your awareness, and your current setup in life is an opportunity to do more with it and to create more wealth and more love and more joy and more elation and happiness for everyone, given the things that you have been given. You wouldn't choose to feel guilty about having had, in your eyes, a better experience. Because you know what? You go to Brazil or Africa, okay, given that there are a bunch of people that are actually dying, and that, you know, are we grateful that we're not them? Well, we're grateful that we're us, but we're not grateful that we're not them. It's kind of that's the way I do it. Again, helpful is better than truth. For me, it's more important than true. But, you know, I don't want there to be anybody who is dying. I don't want anybody to be suffering. But along the scheme of things, from people who are actually in misery and, you know, just about to die, to people who are in bliss, in nirvana, we'll be somewhere along this spectrum. And if we look at other people on that spectrum and feel that we're better than them, and that we feel a bit guilty for being better up, higher up on this spectrum than they are, that's just the script. That's just the competitive plane. That's just comparing yourself with each other. And that's not good. What you should be doing is that, okay, what have I got in my life right now? What can I do? What can I bring to the world? How can I contribute? How can I make money? How can I make love? How can I make happiness? How can I do all these things? How can I use my metaphysical and my physical powers to actually get this whole thing going the way that it needs to create heaven on earth, rather than thinking, oh, I feel a little bit guilty that the world has been set up like this and I've been dealt a reasonably good hand, but other people have been dealt a worse hand. That has to come from the script, because that doesn't make you feel like you are part of something which is on the journey to completion. So anyway, I've digressed a little bit. Chapter 7, it's all in there. Go into that. Just enjoy it. Just have a wonderful week. And I'm going to open it up now to see if anyone's got any questions. I'm going to put the microphone on, and anybody got any questions? There's nobody who can actually type in, who's watching it, who can actually type in questions, because I didn't do questions and answers in that. I like to say I planned not to do that, but I didn't. I just forgot to activate that. So you'll have to pop on and ask questions. So, right, any questions from the field, or comments or observations? Right, who have we got? Okay, we've got T with. How you doing there, T with? Are you on the call? Right.
I'm doing good.
Fantastic. Any thoughts, Mark, to add on the idea of gratitude?
Gratitude for me is actually something I've been thinking about. Am I here?
I can hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I was actually I was giving a lot of thought to this topic, and it's funny how this is the weekly focus. And, you know, because for me, I've been having discussions with, people about gratitude, and in terms of, going up and advancing myself in terms of my growth. And, gratitude is something that, well, you brought up, being grateful for the good and the bad, and also it's all relative, because what's good or bad, and yeah, for me, it's tough to look at the things that my script perceive to be as negative. So I think for a lot of people, that's a real big eye-opener, because actually all the things that happened in my life happened to get me to the point where I am. And you know what? I'm grateful for where I am right now. And to look at that from that perspective, because the things that happened to me didn't happen in the way that they happened, I wouldn't be here in this program right now. I wouldn't be in this life that I'm right now. Yeah. And that's the whole entire perspective that I have. And you know what? I'm grateful for what I have right now. I'm grateful for all the trials and tribulations that I had. And I have to focus on that. And the thing is, as maybe I'm projecting or whatever, but in the moment is feeling the gratitude for being in the moment really opens up things and for more things to come. And I like what you said, because like if we're not showing gratitude for all things, it's like we're judging what we're getting, and it's like. Yeah. It's like close script choices, and the script is choosing. And I wrote a thing. I have a whiteboard at work, and I wrote this. It was a download I had I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was a weekly focus, and it was just basically something I wrote, and people come by my desk and they really enjoy what I wrote. It was about setbacks and disappointments. And one of the things I said is that as I wrote, I choose to be grateful and to be, to be awesome. And the fact that setbacks and disappointments are only temporary, but I choose to have gratitude. And that's the whole thing. Because if we don't have setbacks, if things don't go, or if everything's perfect, if everything's always like, what is perfect, but everything's always, it's a hard concept to talk about. But just being grateful for the whole thing, I think, is a lot. It really is definitely a big thing, and I really like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's an easy one for people to get, because it's so different. There's a lot of stuff in this book. It's a slim book, but it has such unbelievable density to its concepts. There's more in this book than just about every other book that I've read on sort of happiness and success and any management book and all that sort of stuff. It's just every single thing. There's examples of just how to be the example, what to do, how to think. It's just incredible. And so much of this book really made me think, whoa, that's so different from anything I've ever heard before.
And if I'm not jumping in, but I'm really looking forward to this, because one thing I'm finding is every week that I'm focusing on whatever topic that it is, it's actually, my life is becoming whatever topics that it is. Huh. And gratitude is just going to be so awesome, because now I could focus totally, not that I should, but I could really focus on really gratitude and hearing it, and just, I'm really looking forward to what this week is going to really bring in terms of gratitude. I'm already feeling gratitude. Like I just get into the feeling, and then have it to really experience it and focus on it. It's really awesome. In fact, I'm going to use this for something. But I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this this gratitude. So I think that I think in terms of in a general whole, it should bring a lot of advancements for everybody. And also just be open, just to being grateful and seeing the silver lining, whatever that it is that you're seeing, and just be grateful for just everything. So that's my 2 bits on that one.
Thanks for that. I mean, I'm just going to sum it up. Really, I mean, just see how far you can take it this week. Just see how grateful you can be. You know, see the energy level of your gratitude, how high it can be, and you know, it makes you feel better when you are grateful. It makes you feel better right now. So forget about it also bringing more wealth and more love and making you more attractive and all that great stuff. Forget about all the brilliant things that are going to happen to you as a result of you feeling gratitude. It makes you feel better right now. Ultimately, if we're measuring stuff by how things make us feel, right, which is what we're doing, at the end of the day, everything's about a feeling. So gratitude is kind of just like such an ultimately great feeling to have because it makes you feel incredible. For even when you're going through a really difficult situation, you're sort of like, well, you know what? Hey, it ain't too bad. I could enjoy this more than I am right now. You know, and then you use the algorithms like the got to get to and all that sort of stuff, and it kind of, gratitude is a gateway. Why I called it this one the gateway is because the whole idea of gratitude is that it's just so much better than just not being bothered by it. It's not gratitude is better than a lack of gratitude. That's obvious. But gratitude is way better than just indifference, than just not noticing, than just being kind of blind to it. That's the thing.
If I can add one more thing, because I like what you said also about 2016 and being grateful for it now. You're right. Being grateful for it now, for the future now, is going right to the feeling because it expedites the process.
Yeah.
So why wait to feel it? Because you know you're waiting for the external event, but why not have the feeling now of gratitude before it comes?
Absolutely, Mark. It's amazing. I mean, I love the fact that you are embodying the whole purpose of the 13 by 4. I love the fact that you are finding, you know, and all I'm doing is I'm focusing on the week, and my life is becoming this. You know, you are more than anybody, certainly in terms of feedback. You're following this totally properly, and you're realizing the power of just directing your focus to one thing at a time.
I'm grateful.
Already, isn't that cool? Right, I'm going to see if anyone's got any more questions, and then I'm going to knock it on the head because this is sort of half an hour mark, which is about. Yep. Anyone else on the call actually got any questions? I mean, it's all there, really. The beautiful thing about this book, the book's got all the material in it anyway, right? All I'm doing with the 13 by 4 in the system is just finding some component of it so that you avoid overwhelm, so that you just focus on one thing, and instead of it just being a book that you read and thought was great and then didn't do very much about and then realized 2 years later, oh, there was that book, that was a good book, I must read that again. You know, by building it into a 13 by 4, you just, by changing your focus each week, your brain doesn't get that, oh, you're kind of bored of this or you know this thing. And then, so that's why it's such a lovely system I've found with learning. It tricks the brain into staying focused on it for way longer than you would. Imagine if I said all you have to do is just read this book all the time and just study it and keep studying it and learn it for 13 weeks and you just do it. It's like, yeah, most people would last like 10 days, 2 weeks. They'd get bored. Or they'd switch off. They'd find something else to distract them.
Right. I agree.
Anyway. Okay, guys, well, have a fantastic week. Just be grateful for the fact that you've got this week, that you're on this call, that you are watching this video, that you've got the opportunity to be grateful. Some people didn't wake up this morning, right? They didn't get a chance to be grateful for today, and we've got that. And don't let our scripts make us feel bad for it. Just let our scripts, when they happen, when we notice them, just our scripts be the marker for our awareness and think, you know what, I could be just a little bit more grateful. I could be just maybe 5% more grateful for stuff or 10% more. And if you just, again, just start thinking about what if you were just a little bit more grateful for your partner and your job and your children and the air that you're breathing and all that sort of stuff. It'd make for a brilliant life. It would make for a brilliant week. So have fun doing it. Ultimately, it is all about fun, having the feeling. And I'm signing off. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.